Okay, so let me tell you about the absolutely horrible shift that I just had. It is 10:19 and I am just clocking out of work. Mind you, my shift ends at 10 o'clock, so I'm not that far off from my normal shift end time. I was back in memory care tonight, and two huge things happened tonight on my shift. So first of all, I was trying to put this one resident into bed, and she is known to get aggressive and combative, but like she was super happy all day, and like there was absolutely nothing wrong. And all of a sudden she just started like swinging on me, and she bopped me right in the forehead. Like she punched me in the forehead, and it was hard. Like she caught part of my glasses, like the frames of my glasses, and it really hurt. But it was like right here. And at first I was like kind of shocked, and I stepped back a little bit. But then after I realized what happened, by the time I realized what had happened, she was digging her nails into my forearm and my wrist. And like, she doesn't have super long nails, but it was really hurting. And I was doing my best to just kind of avoid more conflict and getting her more combative, because that's like the last thing that I wanted to happen, was for her to become even more combative than she already was. And so by the time I figured out what was going on, she, the QMA came into her room to give her medicine, and the QMA was able to get her to get into her bed because she was trying to tell me that it wasn't her room, it wasn't her bed, she wasn't going to sleep there. She was trying to say that the resident's room next door was her room, and she was trying to sleep in that resident's bed. And so she was basically attacking me. And all I know is I thought that was going to be the worst thing to happen tonight, but then right as I'm like in the middle of doing final rounds and getting people put in bed and everything, like I had, I think 2 or 3 more people that I needed to check and change, and one person that I needed to get into pajamas and into bed. Right as I was in the middle of doing all that, another resident, the QMA called over the walkie-talkie saying that another resident was on the floor. Now, mind you, from 8 to 10 p.m., I was the only aide on the floor other than the QMA, which she was passing meds and she was helping with that side of the hall. But in our memory care, there's only 16 residents, so it's not super strenuous. I've definitely worked in other facilities where I've had more than 16 residents per shift, so it's not like out of the ordinary for CNAs to have to care for that many people. But this lady was on the floor and she had hit her head, and her head was bleeding, and I was just sitting there. Like, the nurse came and she was having me hold a cold compress on her forehead, and like she had a huge hematoma over her eye. And I honestly, like, we were trying to figure out how she could have fallen, if she had tried to get up, or what was going on, because it didn't really make sense with her injury, because she was at the end of her bed. And like, it doesn't really make sense if she was at the end of her bed, how only one side of her body was hurting, and there was only injuries to one side of her body, and it wasn't like her bottom or her back or anything like that. So it's just a little bit confusing, but you know how memory care is. So it was definitely a very eventful shift, to say the least. Yeah, I have no clue, but I do know that I'm ready to go home and go to sleep, because I have to be back here tomorrow well, today is day 1 of a 4-day streak of shifts. And yeah, thankfully the next 3 days are in assisted living. I don't have any more memory care shifts this week, I don't think. So yeah, hopefully the rest of the week is better, because tonight was just a shit show and just craziness all around. And like I said, my partner left at 8 o'clock, so I was basically by myself, so that didn't really help anything, because even though the QMA is a CNA, they don't always help. Not saying that this one didn't help, but they don't always help, so it is what it is. But anyways, I just had to like vent a little bit, so thank you for listening to me. If you got this far, I definitely appreciate it, because sometimes if you work in the healthcare field, you know that sometimes it just helps to be able to just vent after a crazy shift like that, and just vent to people who understand your frustrations and understand what it is that you're going through and have been through the same or similar situations themselves. So I don't know. Let me know what your worst shift was. What happened on your worst shift ever if you work in healthcare, whether you're a nurse, CNA, phlebotomist, etc., etc., because I'm curious. But anyways, I'm going to get home because it is 10:25 now, and I think I've talked long enough. I want to go home and eat dinner and go to bed and come back and do it all again tomorrow. Yay!